Hi, Emma.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm from Columbia, Missouri right now, so right in the middle of the United States.
Very nice place to be from. I
Some
called,
might say.
yeah, I called you today because actually I just know you because we are both going to be speakers at Global Sources Summit and Cross Border Summit in China. So I decided to reach out to you and invite you to do a video with me. But in fact, maybe if you don't mind, I'll just share my screen with everyone and I'll show what I was looking at. So I found you on LinkedIn. Actually, my VA finds interesting people that I should connect with on LinkedIn. And I find you there. I see it's still pending. So you still have to accept my invite.
I saw the request this morning, just haven't had an opportunity to get onto LinkedIn yet. I try to limit my email and social media until I get some important things done in the day.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I get sometimes lost in those things. Yeah, and I saw that you're a marketing expert. So, marketing expert is a very wide description. Marketing could, in, entangle so many different aspects and things. So, I wanted to just chat with you about Amazon specifically. And I saw that you help people to optimize their listings. And I thought that would be very useful for me if I could get some personal advice for maybe use some strategies for my own listings. So would you mind introducing yourself and tell me a little bit where your expertise is, like what you are best at?
Sure. So you're right. Marketing is a huge field full of lots of different subspecialties. So we're really focused on creating effective marketing writing and primarily helping e-commerce businesses do that through things like Amazon listing optimization, website copy, product pages, etc. So we started Marketing by Emma in 2016, and we've helped over 650 brands launch and boost their sales through marketing writing. And so when it comes to listing optimization, there are a lot of different things that you need to be thinking about, because you're not simply writing something that sounds good and putting it online. You also have Amazon to contend with, and understanding what Amazon expects of you, what customers expect of you, but then also how are you going to present your brand and your product in a way that's actually going to get people excited to be purchasing from you. So
Yeah, it's I guess it's the most challenging to actually do something different from the competitors and to make them want to buy from you. It's quite a challenge. It's been a challenge because I sell apparel items, so dresses, and very often dresses look alike, because they make them smaller in the first image. You have to show the whole product, and then it's so small, and comparing, dress to by dress by dress by dress, they all look similar unless the
yeah.
pattern or the color differs. There's not much to differentiate. So I was hoping that there is something else that I could improve on my listing with your help.
Sure. So if we're talking about dresses in particular, then it's really important to think about the kind of person that's going to be interested in your dresses specifically. So are you selling dresses that business women want to wear, and maybe they do a lot of traveling, and so yours don't wrinkle, and so it's really easy to just pull them out of their suitcase, toss them on, and look great? Are you selling to somebody that is really considerate about their style, and so they want to look perfect all the time? Are you selling to a busy mother who's trying to juggle between raising children, working, and still wanting to look professional and take pride in herself? Are you selling to different types of body shapes that might have trouble purchasing items that really complement their figures? Anything that has to do with physical appearance opens itself up to something that could potentially be a soft spot, but it's also an opportunity if you know how to really work with that in a positive way that will help women feel confident that your products are going to help them feel like their best selves.
Okay, so if we talk more practically, my dresses are humble dresses. So they are the ones which cover it, the neck, they cover the arms. It's something that you could wear at work, or if you are if you are more religious and you want to wear something more shy. So it's two main groups of customers that I have. Those that are religious, and because of that they're wearing something more covered, or those that are just, when you Google for a dress for work, you're gonna find all of these dresses that you never would wear at work. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I invented this brand that would be already, thought for you, that everything would be properly covered and, still cute and nice and elegant. So now I have two types of audiences. So if I would ask you more practically, like, what's the next step after I know who I am selling to?
Sure. So in that case, to be selling modest clothing is something that really will help you to differentiate yourself and immediately stand out, because that's where you can really help to elevate not just the specific products, but actually your brand. Because you should really be communicating to women, not just buy this dress, but don't really worry about having to spend hours and hours and hours scanning through tons of pages and buying clothes, realizing they're not covering everything that you want them to or need them to, sending them back and doing all that back and forth. Instead, they can feel confident that when they're shopping from you, they're going to have everything covered that they want to cover, whether it's for religious reasons or simply because they prefer to cover certain body parts for whatever reasons. And so that's definitely something that I would want to emphasize. It's a really great opportunity, not just to sell that product in particular, but your full line of products. I would also really focus on the fact that people can feel confident and professional and beautiful regardless of how it's cut. So just because somebody chooses to be modest doesn't mean that they want to look frumpy or not put together. They still might want to be fashionable and professional and slick. It's just that they have certain preferences for how much skin they choose to expose.
Okay, so I really like practical things. So I'll share my screen again, and I'll go to Amazon. And I'll just show you, if you if you Amazon search for humble dress, so you get very mixed type of results. It's not really just the dresses that come up, so I'm already having a hard time with the keyword targeting and things. But let's say if there is one something, I guess humble is not the best word.
I would say modest would probably be something that people would be using more often.
Right. So if you use modest dress, that is usually very, very competitive keyword.
Mm-hmm.
It's practically impossible to get on the first page because there are so many strong brands that do sell something like that. But if I would click on the random ones, and would you help me improve this listing? What would be your practical suggestions if you're looking at a specific listing?
Sure. So I think there are a lot of things here right off the bat that I'm noticing, which is even the title is not fully articulating what this dress is. So this is a 3/4 length sleeve. There's no mention of that. I would think that that's something important to refer to. I'm looking at the bullets. The bullets are very detail-based, but not even 100% helpful or accurate. Like this, the first bullet is tie closure. Would you show me a picture of the back of the dress, please? The last one. So this actually is not really a tie closure dress. Perhaps it's a wrap dress, but it doesn't look like that. It just looks like it has a bow sort of adornment. So that's a little bit.
You're good at naming and everything. Yeah, you are good. Do you sell dresses too?
I don't. I don't sell any of my own products. Just help other people sell. So that's one of the first things that I look at and I feel a little bit confused about. I'm also seeing some details that are not really helping me fully understand things. So like the material is 95% polyester and 5% spandex. That's interesting. I would think that probably it's a fairly soft material, that it's also has a little bit of stretch. So it's forgiving if you're maybe wanting to sort of conceal your tummy area. And so I would help to emphasize what it means that it is this polyester and spandex? Is this something that I have to worry about clinging to all those little areas, or is this something that will sort of like glide over my body and help to disguise it? Also, in the images, they have one woman wearing the dress. It doesn't matter the color, it's all the same woman. And I would think that a really helpful thing, and I guess those are different women in the different colors, but they're still fairly similar body types. And I would be very curious to see what this looks like on a variety of different body types. All of these are relatively slender models, and so it's not helping women to understand what it might look like on them, because, you know, as we know, women come in all shapes and sizes, and that's something that's really helpful, especially when you're shopping online, is you want to know, what is this going to look like on me, not what does this look like on a model. And so that's something that I would definitely consider doing, is to, you know, have some different images of different types.
Right. That's what I usually do. I go always to customer images and look at all customer images, and then I know how the dress is gonna look.
Right.
You know.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, this is tough. So you're saying bullets should be improved, and I think you're talking, you know, all of those. When I am looking at other listings, and I know this is one of us, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
if I see those bullets that are capitalized in the beginning,
Yep.
let's say like this guy, there will be all. If you see this style, you know, oh, it's one of us. You know what?
Yep.
So now, if I do the same for dresses, how would you say I would format this? Like, what would I focus on? Is it more like the benefit, or how do you even write that? I find it really hard to even start thinking about the copy.
Sure. So the first thing that I always do, and what I always recommend doing, is get a very clear image of who this person is. It's great that you're selling something so specific, that you're not just selling, you know, a regular dress that anybody would be interested in, that you know that you have a specific type of customer, and you're very honed in on that. So get a clear image of that customer, and then think about all of the different things that they're going to care about. And then once you have that clear, and once you have your benefits really solid, then you can think about how the features of your dress relate to those different benefits. So like I mentioned with the polyester and spandex, perhaps that's a really great bullet to talk about how this is something that's great for summer, that that it's breathable, and that you're not going to get overly sweaty in, because I'm sure that if you dress modestly and you're having to go out into extreme heat, then it can be a little bit unpleasant to think about doing that. So perhaps that's something that you'd want to emphasize. And so you mentioned that it's breathable and lightweight, even though you're fully covered, thanks to 95% polyester and 5% spandex. So it's not that you're not including those details, it's that you're instead including those details in a way that's actually sort of supporting your argument. So if you're saying it's this because of this, then it's stronger than just saying, oh, well, this will make you feel great. Well, everybody's going to say that. How can you actually back it up?
Okay, so what about this type of guy? So let's say, if I'm not talking about dresses, if
Sure.
someone like this would come to you and say, I would like to be your customer, help me to improve my listings. And this is a boring product that, you know, it's really hard to market, I guess.
Sure.
So what can be done in that case?
Definitely. So what I would say is, looking at this, some of the things that stick out to me are, number one, it's feeling like I see where they're trying to go with multi-purpose nails, convenient packaging, variety of sizes, all the sort of headers of the bullets. But I don't think that they're as specific as they should be, because what you want to do, and what the purpose of having the all caps there, is really to help customers quickly and easily identify what the highlights of this product are, but also say that you are looking for a nail set and you have a very specific purpose that you're looking for that. So you don't care about everything. Maybe the only thing you care about is that it's a variety of sizes that are really durable, sturdy nails that won't bend. I see that there's a mention of that in the best quality nails. So if that's something that's super important to me, that 80% of customers that are shopping for nails like this care about, then you want to make it very easy for them to look at this product page and to immediately be able to zoom in on the correct bullet and find that piece of information that they need. Because you have all types of shoppers. You have the people that are going to be reading everything exhaustively and want to know every single detail and will spend, hours going through all of the reviews and comparing. And then you also have the people that are only going to look at images, or they're just going to quickly glance, oh, okay, this has 4 stars and 3 out of 317 reviews. That's great. And you'll have some people in the middle that they know what they're looking for. They're going to do a little bit of homework, but they're not going to exhaust themselves. And so you want to make sure that your listing is set up for all of those different types of shoppers. And by having a very specific, clear idea of what your benefits are, along with making sure that you're really succinct with what you're saying, you're going to help communicate effectively with all those different types of customers. So like something like convenient packaging, that's great, but what is the actual benefit of convenient packaging? Is it that when you're in the middle of a project, so you only have one hand and you're trying to easily grab what you're doing by yourself, does it mean that it makes those sort of projects faster and easier? Is it that it's helping to prevent just like a huge messy pile that you spend an hour trying to search for enough of the right size nails? Like, what is it about the packaging that makes it convenient that you're really trying to emphasize? And that's what you really want to be focusing on. So like if we read here, it says making your job easier, no time wasted looking for the right nail size. So it's really talking about the efficiency. And so I would emphasize that in the header of this section and also in the bullet rather than the convenient packaging, because that's really just the feature. The convenient packaging is what helps make it more efficient. But what people really care about is that it's just going to save them a lot of time. So emphasize that and then use the convenient packaging to support how it's going to do that.
What about products that do need a little bit more explanation? I don't know, could be like beeswax wrap, for example. Some people will not even know like what it's used for.
Sure.
Yeah, let's say one of those. So it's again, okay, so one of us is doing it because I see always the warranty, there.
Yep.
So look, again, a reusable choice. So with the typo. So I guess
yes, yeah. Which is something that I have to say, whether you're hiring somebody or whether you're doing it yourself, always take the time to read through things and make sure that you're avoiding little errors like that, because you really have to think about a product page as your first impression. And people, even if they're not looking at that and consciously saying, oh, they made a typo, they might subconsciously see that and think, they're not really as professional as they're trying to present themselves. And then maybe from there drawing a conclusion of, is this as high quality as they're trying to say? Are they going to be a helpful company if I have a problem? So you really want to make sure that you're avoiding that. There are fantastic free tools that you can use, like Grammarly, or even any word processor would be able to catch those things. So make sure to run it through that before putting it online.
Yeah, Grammarly is great. I am using it as well. I really like it. So I'm not sure if that would it probably doesn't.
Well, you can, create it it's worthwhile to create it in a separate document anyway, and then you can easily run it through that and then copy it into Amazon. That's what I would recommend.
And then they give recommendations how to. Okay, so you as a consultant, do you offer any copywriting services as well, or?
Yes, so that's primarily what we do is copywriting, and I would say largely serving the Amazon seller community in particular. So helping people to optimize their Amazon listings, keeping in mind everything that you need to do for SEO, everything to be compliant with Amazon's TOS, and then ultimately everything that you need to do to make sure that you're appealing to your customers.
So Marketing by Emma, is there a website that I could look at?
Yep, marketingbyemma.com.
Okay, here we are. Oh, very nice. Turn browsers into buyers. There you are. So I was hoping for a list of services so that I would know. So you're saying your specialty is the copywriting part,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
Okay, so what about, when I'm thinking about hiring a copywriter, of course, right away I'm thinking, will they put the right keywords? And if I rewrite the current listings, will they not kill my current rank because everything will change? So how to carefully do that? Do you keep the ranked keywords that are already ranking, or is this more like a service for new listings from scratch?
We work with both sides of things. So we work with sellers that are wanting to optimize existing listings as well as helping them launch new products. And one thing that we always ask for is if you know that you're ranking for certain words, we want to know that so we can be mindful of that and integrate those words and put a priority on those words. But it also might be a good opportunity if you're thinking about optimizing your listing to rerun some of your keyword research and to be looking if there perhaps are some new opportunities that you weren't aware of when you originally created your listing, because that's quite possible as well. And so another thing to be thinking about when you're updating your listing, and what a lot of our clients do, is they'll actually sort of upload in pieces because your listing will need to sort of re-index with Amazon. And so if you're just putting 100% fresh copy up there, you might see a temporary drop while that happens. But even if you do that, it should eventually rebound as long as we're incorporating all of those keywords that we need to be including.
Okay. So you mentioned that you write the bullets and description, right? So what about those, I really like on my listings to use a little bit of text in the images, sort of like these bullets would be, I guess,
Yeah.
but moved to the image so that for those people who don't even look at the bullets. So would you be able to advise on those as well, or?
Definitely. It's something that is a really great tool. More and more people are visual shoppers, and they're going to be looking at your images. Maybe even that's one of the only things that they're looking at. And so you want to make sure to capitalize on any opportunity that you have to create a sale. And so the images are also, when you have text and photos working together, that's even more powerful. But if you just have an image, particularly a lifestyle image, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, what words is your customer choosing if they're just left to decide that on their own? Whereas if you're incorporating some text, you're helping to really focus their attention on what it is that you're wanting them to get from that picture and what message you're trying to communicate. And so whether that's another benefit that they weren't aware of, or whether it's more of an emotional appeal that's just going to get them really excited about this particular purchase, it's a great opportunity to create additional interest or sort of give that last little nudge to click add to cart.
Look, greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will asve it. They did all the best things they can, and there's a typo in there.
Well, and I would argue that this text also isn't fully doing what it should be, because in some ways this text is really a downer. There's not a positive upswing. So what I think they're trying to communicate is that by using this reusable sort of plastic wrap substitute, that you're making a small difference in helping to save the earth from unnecessary trash that also might be damaging to wildlife. But this is just sort of saying the planet's going to a bad place and it's our responsibility to take care of it, where it could be helping someone to feel really empowered and excited about making a purchase that's a no waste contribution. So just by sort of keeping this idea but shifting it to a more positive, empowering outcome, it would probably be a far more effective image.
I have a few friends recently that have gone, well, they're starting to go plastic free, like in terms of jars and packaging and food packaging, and just trying to minimize plastic in their life, which is impossible immediately,
Yes.
but little by little, you can do. So yeah, this is one of the products that I was just browsing and found that it exists, instead of, so all of these benefits that actually, that I am helping, my kids 50 years later, they will have these huge piles of plastic everywhere, it's really bad.
Yes,
And,
definitely.
if it just makes, I want something that makes me feel good, I guess, in that sentence. And just like you say, I read the sentence and feel like, all right, then, yeah, I'm one of these bad guys up to now, like just,
right. And there are so many other bad guys out there, and can we even make a difference even if I buy this product? We're really helping people to feel good and empowered, that they're not only helping to make a difference, but that they can also enjoy some of the conveniences that plastic affords, because that's one of the reasons that we use plastic so much, is because of the unique abilities. It's very pliable and flexible, and so maybe you think, okay, well, if I can't have plastic, then I'm just going to have to be using glass jars for everything. So there's this great alternative that offers some of that same flexibility, that just happens to be made of natural materials and is reusable, and I think is even compostable once it's sort of run through its life cycle. And I don't even see anything about it being compostable or what happens.
All they say is say goodbye to conventional cling wrap, but they don't even explain why it is good to say goodbye. Like, what's the benefit for it? Well, because, we want to not have these piles of plastic and all that. Like, if we do more research, I guess, in what is happening with the planet because of the plastic accumulation all over, they could put in those things in here and say how you are taking the first step, and I guess this is really good.
Well, and even like one of the things that I would be most concerned about is this really going to work as well? And how can I use it? And is it just going to 100% replace my plastic wrap? And I don't see any mention of that in these bullets. I don't see any indication of how multifunctional it is, and how do you even get it to do all these different shapes? Because in your mind, if you're thinking beeswax, you don't necessarily think, oh yes, this is going to become my go-to way of keeping my food fresh. It also has prints on it, which they're cute, but I would be curious to know what sort of they're using, because it could make it a benefit if it's something that is, good, safe, environmental ink. But if it's not, then I would also actually want to alert my customers to that, because one of the things that you want to think about is you don't want to just say, oh, my product is the best at anything and everything and everybody needs it, because you don't want people purchasing your product if this product doesn't fit what they're looking for. Because if you're doing that and then they get it home and then they realize that it doesn't fit their needs, then they're going to send it back. And you don't want to be dealing with tons and tons of returns. It's not great for your bottom line. Amazon also does not like that. And so you're wanting to make sure that the right people are purchasing your products.
Okay. So it's really hard, though, to think about the benefit. I guess when I would order from you I saw that you would expect me to provide you the keywords, but do I also need to provide you the benefits of the product?
So firstly, you can provide your own keywords, or if you would prefer to have us help you, that's something that we offer as an add-on service. So we can help if you're not confident with identifying what keywords you need to use when you're creating your listing. As far as the benefits go, we don't expect you to have to figure that out. What we do ask is, what makes your product special? What makes your product different? What are the things that you've identified as being unique, or what you really want to focus on? And then what we do is we will look at your competitors, we'll think about your customers, and start to get a really clear idea of how we can position your product in a way that will make it stand out. So like when you're looking at competitors, if you go down and start to look at the reviews, you can find so much great information there about how customers are actually using a product, if you haven't yet launched, and so you're still sort of trying to figure out how will this exist in the world? How will people interact with it? So looking at reviews might give you some insight into that, insight into your customers, but maybe insight into benefits that your competitors aren't even really addressing. And so that's a really great tool to use when you're thinking about optimizing your listings, even if you're doing it yourself.
That sounds great. I find it still very creative type of work though. Let's say like the same product, and I am just, let's say, starting up, and I'm looking for one that has more reviews. So let's say 200. Now, just want to see how practically I would do it. So would I look at just the bad reviews or just the good ones, or like all of them?
I don't know that you want to have to read through 200 reviews, but you can start to get a sense even just from the beginning. Like this first review, pretty easy to wrap around foods and holds together a variety of sizes. So they're actually giving 3 benefits in one sentence there. So it's easy to use. It holds its shape, or it sort of stays how you want it to, and you have a variety of different sizes, because one thing that you would be thinking about if you're giving up plastic wrap you cut to whatever size you need for that particular item. Right. So the way that this particular seller is getting around that is by providing different sizes that would help somebody be able to store all sorts of different sized food items or containers or whatnot. And so I would even help people to understand maybe what those different sizes, what you could actually do with them. So what the medium equivalent is, because not everybody is going to look at dimensions and say, oh, okay, that makes total sense to me. But if you say
like wrap 5 cookies in this one, or
right, or like this video is showing wrap a bagel in it. That's, I guess, wouldn't be an uncommon item that people would wrap, and it's something that most people would be instantly able to understand, and then that would give them a sense, and maybe they would realize, what, I only wrap things larger than that, so I'm actually going to look for a product that only has really large, or like maybe I don't even know if there's a seller that doesn't have pre-cut ones that you can just buy a long roll of it perhaps, and then they'd be able to do it for all of their unique size needs.
I love this approach. Like one of my bullets put the size that you could wrap a bagel in it, and let's see what his bullets look like. Eco-friendly, sustainable, value for money, and of course, guarantee satisfaction.
Right.
This last one I never use. This warranty satisfaction is just like, not really even important at all.
So I will disagree with you a little bit. I would say that there's value if you use it well, that there's value in doing that. And I think that a lot of people make the assumption that they think, okay, well, just because most people, they understand that if they're a Prime member and they're able to return things and all of that, but what it's doing is a few things. One is not everybody's not going to automatically assume and feel comfortable that the company is actually going to help resolve things if they have a problem, but it's also an opportunity to reinforce your key benefits and takeaways, while also helping people to understand that you care about them getting something that they want to get. That you're not just trying to sell them something and then disappear, but if you have a problem, that you'll actually be helping them. Because that's one of the main things that we give up when we're shopping online, is that ability to go into the store or easily make a phone call if we have a problem with something. So knowing and reassuring customers that you're available if they if something goes wrong can be a worthwhile thing to do.
That's an interesting thought. I never considered it. I just thought too many times I see it. That's why I sort of like, I think I started ignoring it. But I guess if you're not an Amazon seller and you don't normally see all of that, then it is important to you because you are reading everything that it has to say. Interesting.
And if you think about, let's take ourselves off of Amazon for a moment, and you're on somebody's regular website. They're typically going to include something like that, whether it's free returns or, satisfaction guarantee. And that's something that people look for and want to see. And so it's not really any different on Amazon, where people are still just wanting that reassurance that they're not going to, spend their money on something and then just get stuck with something that doesn't work, or that they don't know how to use, or that's broken, or whatever it might be.
Okay, I love this game. Let's find one. Let's find one more. Like, okay, this one I sort of because I know that paid reviews used to do videos, and okay, she gave 4 stars, so it's a bad one, bad reviewer. You pay her and she gives you 4 stars. But I guess those with pictures and here's a lot of paid reviews. That's what the feeling I get. So I hope to find those that are like from real customers, which would not have too much text or a video. So I guess, save a planet. That's all he says. That's kind of cool bullet, right? Save a planet. Gave it as a gift to eco-conscious family member. How could we use this as a benefit?
Well, so I would say, I wouldn't really look at this necessarily as a gift on first go round. However, I also know that if you're trying to purchase for somebody that has, made the choice to go zero or low waste, then number one, it can be difficult to just find things that meet their standards, because most things do come in excess packaging, and so you would be avoiding that. And you would also then be providing them something useful and practical that wouldn't just be some little trinket that they'd have to find somewhere to store it or donate it and just tell you how much they love it. I don't necessarily think that I would lead with this being as a gift. I think that people that would be looking for something like this as a gift could sort of draw their own conclusions without having it shoved in their face. I think a lot of times that, when you're talking about the bullets that are sort of unnecessary, a lot of times that's how I feel about the gift bullet. I feel like at times it's worthwhile, but at other times it's just sort of a giveaway, because that's whether something is giftable or not, people will figure out just by looking at the other details, whether it's, a children's toy that's going to be stimulating their creativity and helping them learn. Just communicating all of that and then saying that it's a great gift isn't really helping add to the conversation. They're going to be thinking about the fact that it stimulates creativity and that it helps them learn, and that on their own, they'll draw that conclusion that it makes a great gift. So, when you're trying to incorporate certain keywords, then there might be value in trying to work that in. But I would say that a lot of times talking about how giftable something isn't necessarily the best use of that particular space.
Okay, so I will scroll and you tell me what hits your eye as a benefit.
Okay, so I want to read these two, actually. I love using instead of plastic wrap and a little sticky in the heat. So this is very interesting that I love using these instead of plastic wrap. If you look at the second sentence, it says plastic wrap doesn't always stick to dishes or vegetables very well, and you end up using a lot of it. The beeswax wrap sticks to dishes great even in the refrigerator. So this is not just saying a benefit of plastic or of these beeswax wraps, as just being more environmentally friendly. This is actually saying that it works better than plastic wrap. So this is actually saying that even people that wouldn't be motivated from an environmental perspective might have value in purchasing this product because it would be able to do a better job than what they're using. So now you're opening yourself up to people that either are environmentally minded or are just looking for the best product. And so in this case, this might just be the best product for their particular needs if it's just going to stick really great. And like myself, I feel like an idiot every time I try to use plastic wrap. I always try to rip it, and then I end up and then remove the static from it. And so then by the time I put it on the bowl, it's just, it doesn't.
It like sticks together, and then you try to unstick.
Right. Like it's something that feels like very basic that anybody should be able to do, but I feel like I do not have the skill of using plastic wrap properly. And so this is actually really interesting to me because it's actually saying, okay, you know what? This is a foolproof way, and it actually does a better job.
Right. I think now we over-promoted this product, and now everyone who's watching is going to become plastic-minded, and I mean, we'll start to look at these products. This is great. Okay.
Well, good. I mean, I can't say that there's a problem with people making a more sustainable choice with their packaging materials.
So my second question comes now. As we talked about the bullets, I think that the key component of the listing is always the title, because the title not only is treated as the strongest keyword thing, but let's say, okay, let's pick something else now. So flower pot. When I am reading, so basically I look at the images, but if they're pretty similar, like let's say this one and this one, then I'm gonna read the bullets. Like I am not so price conscious personally, so I am gonna ignore the price until the last minute. I am just gonna like look for something in the title that would, you know, catch my attention more than just having the keywords there. How do you write your titles? Do you put any benefit in there, or you just make it keyword rich because it's such little space available and it's so important?
So it's definitely, you don't want to just stuff as many keywords as possible because you're not helping necessarily provide all of the important information that would make people want to click. Like a great example is, let's say that you sell multiple items in your product, you know, whether it's multiple pots or, you know, multiple of the beeswax wraps or whatever it might be. If you don't have that in your title, then it can start to get a little bit confusing. Like let's say that this white ceramic flower pot garden planters didn't say that it's a 2-pack. So maybe you would look at this and you'd be like, okay, so can I choose between one of those two? And it's way more expensive than some of the other ones. So why is it so much more expensive? If you indicate that it's a set of 2, then that helps to sort of explain why that's the case. But I would also want to think about what, again, are people looking for when they're shopping for something like this? Like I know I have a lot of houseplants, and one of the things that really irritates me when looking for planters is that most of them don't have holes in the bottom, which if you have plants, you know that that's a problem because essentially it's allowing it to collect water, which can make the roots rot and then your plants die.
Yeah, why do they even make those? I don't
know. But I think, you know, orchids are one of the only plants that it's okay to do that with. But if you're keeping plants outside, that's a problem. And if you're keeping plants inside, that's a problem. And so that's something that if you're, you know, like this one, self-watering planter. So what that means is, from my understanding, my limited plant knowledge, is that it has holes, but it also has a little basin. And so it allows enough water to drain out, but it also keeps some water sort of below so that the soil can, help to pull the moisture up as it starts to dry out. So that's something that's a really great thing to incorporate into the beginning of the listing, because that's helping people to be able to immediately see, okay, this is not going to be another planter that doesn't have holes in the bottom that I need to figure out how to do that. And instead, it's going to help me keep my plants alive, which might be a challenging thing to do. But, you know, interestingly, there's no mention of that in the bullets here. I don't see, like, it's talking about saving time with with watering because you don't have to water them as often, but it's not really talking about how this will also help you keep your plants alive, which is something that I think probably more people struggle with keeping their plants alive than with watering them frequently. Maybe that's just my problem.
I actually rent an office, but my husband works from home. So I ask him to water them sometimes. And sometimes he overwaters, sometimes underwaters. And he asks for my, so how much I should water? And I'm like, I don't know. Just do it.
Right. Sometimes when I forget to water my plants or I'm out of town for 3 weeks, they suddenly look better than when I'm giving them a lot of attention and care. So
he has since requested me to replace my plants with plastic or bring them to the office and take care of them myself. Which I have not done since, so we for now don't have any plants. Yeah, so you sound like you know a bit about plants, right? So you do have a lot of them at home?
Well, yes, I have a lot of them. I can't say that I'm
so you're much better than my plastic.
We've lived in our home for about a little over 3 years now, and we've still not gotten around to purchasing pictures or any sort of artwork to put on the walls. So we sort of just decorate with plants, but they're all in various stages. Some are very vibrant and others, like one of them, my dog has decided to slowly nibble away at the time to get rid of.
I see. Okay, so we were talking about title in general. So you said you will be a speaker at Global Sources Summit and Cross Border Summit. Do you have any slides on the title? Do you teach anything about the title at all in there?
So in both of my talks, we're sort of getting a little bit more conceptual and like all of the work that you would do before optimizing. At Cross Border, I'll really be talking about how to get your creative team or your contractors to get the best work out of them, how to select the right person for the job, how to communicate your vision, all of those different types of things. Whereas at Global Sources, I'll really be talking about taking a step back and getting really clear about who your customer is, what your benefits are, and how to be thinking about all of those things. I think about a title a little bit like a puzzle. So you do want to include your important keywords in there, but how can you do that in a way so that you're still creating a cohesive title that reads clearly and is providing a lot of that key information. So things like size, if you're selling a product that has ingredients, maybe some of your star ingredients, whether it's a skincare item or a food item or something like that. If has any other sort of really key information that would be a very easy way for somebody to quickly identify this is a product that I'm interested in or this is not. So if it is a food item, and let's say it's a food item for like it's a gluten-free cracker. So obviously saying it's a gluten-free cracker is important, but maybe there are lots of gluten-free crackers that are still high carb or have other ingredients that a lot of people don't want in their gluten-free crackers. So if you have a gluten-free cracker that is also soy-free and low carb and keto friendly, those are all really important details that including them in the title, most likely there's some keyword relevance there as well, but it's also helping people see immediately, oh, this is the cracker that I want, and helping you stand out from all those other crackers that they'd have to click through, they'd have to search for an image of the nutrition facts, the ingredients, they have to do all this extra legwork just to even find out if those crackers fit into their criteria that they need to know whether this is a snack food they want to purchase or not.
So it means it's not only the keywords that people would usually put in, like, it's not necessarily something that I would put into my search when I'm searching for the item, but it's later what I am scanning for as a secondary piece of information that helps me to choose between the results. Is that
right?
How it goes?
Exactly. And so every product will have its own different criteria that you're wanting to think about. And also that will be influenced by how competitive the particular space is that you're trying to go into. The more highly competitive it is, the more you might want to put some of those differentiators early on to help yourself stand out. Whereas maybe you're less competitive, and so then there are other things that would be interesting for a customer to know, or just other types of keywords that you can use. So it's a title, just like any other thing, is not a hard and fast set of rules. You have to really be mindful of juggling what you need to do from the SEO perspective, what you need to do to stay compliant with Amazon, and then also what your customer is really going to care about, and how you're existing in that competitive environment that you're in.
Okay. In your on your website, I saw that you also work with existing listings. Do you do actual rewrite of the listing, like or editing? Like if I have a bad one that I wrote myself, would you rewrite it from scratch, or would you go in and edit it? And so, for example, I'm talking about the description part the most. So I wrote something there, and I am not so sure, but it's not so really important for the keywords there, but it's important for something. So. What do you do with those?
So we typically sort of start with a blank slate and a fresh canvas. If there's something really great, we might pull that in, but a lot of times it's better to really think sort of globally about that product rather than being limited by what you've already thought about. Because if we're just taking what you've written and editing it, maybe you're not really fully emphasizing all of those benefits like we've discussed, or all of those details that customers might want to know or need to know when purchasing. And so we don't want to miss out on those opportunities by just simply, cleaning up what you've done. We'd rather really do all of the research and be really thoughtful about what's the best way of presenting this.
I really like your style, and I see that you know a lot about this, but I believe that you have a team of writers, right? So could you tell me a little bit about how your process in the company works? Like, how do you transfer over that knowledge? Like, how do you train them to know what you know so that I could trust them?
So firstly, the way that our team works is everything goes through 3 sets of eyes before we ever send anything out. So what we do is when somebody makes a purchase, they also receive a questionnaire, and we ask that you can be as detailed as possible when filling out that questionnaire, because you obviously know your product better than anybody else. You're the one that's been really thinking about the exact materials to use, and you've done all of that legwork. And so the more of that information that you can share with us, the better job that we can do of synthesizing that information and turning it around. So we get the brief, and then I will assign a writer to that particular brief. They'll do all of that work. If they need help, obviously, then they'll communicate with whoever they need help with. And then from there, that will actually go to an editor. So an editor will review all of it, check it for everything from grammar to marketing style to word count, to all of those things. And then I actually do a final read through of everything and then send it out myself. So I look at every single piece of writing before it leaves, and sometimes that means that even though I've had my writers and my editors do things, I end up rewriting 2 of the bullets because I don't think that they're quite where I want them to be. And so even though I'm not directly writing everything, I still have a very strong hand in everything that's going out into the world. And also what we really focus on is the skill of writing is something that's harder to come by than the details of knowing how to write for Amazon. So knowing somebody or finding people that know how to be creative and that know how to really elicit emotion through words is something that takes a lot of work and a lot of practice and a lot of honing that craft. And so we look for those people, and then we work to teach them the specifics of how to write for Amazon.
Yeah, I find, okay, many things I have outsourced in my business processes and details, but I find the creative part is the hardest to outsource because it's not that everyone is so creative. Many people, in fact, struggle to be creative, and us entrepreneurs don't even understand it because we have hundreds of business ideas every day, right? It's just
Sure.
give us to be creative, but those people who are consistently, they enjoy the long-term job placement, they are consistently working on the same thing, and they enjoy that safety of that, right? They are usually not so creative, that or not, I guess maybe they are creative, but they are getting tired of being creative, like it exhausts them a lot. So that's what I was thinking, probably is the hardest part, to find those creative writers who could come up with the nice benefits. Because I probably think that I would guess that that questionnaire that you send to your customers, most of them barely fill out because
Oh, yes. That's correct.
because it's a lot of work, and writing itself is a lot of work, and to even think of those benefits is a lot of work. You have to spend a lot of creative power for that, right?
Yes, definitely. And I think one of the things to think about with creative people is that we're sort of very unique type of person. And so you need to be mindful of that if you're wanting to get the best work out of your creatives. You need to understand how to work with them because you want to make sure that you're pulling out the best rather than maybe closing them off or making them feel nervous or insecure. Because whenever you're doing something creative, you're really putting yourself out there. Even if it's for business purposes, you're still putting your heart and your soul into everything that you're creating. And so you want to create a safe space for those people to feel like they can fully give themselves without fear of, somebody saying, oh, I just hate it. That's not really constructive. So even let's say that you hired somebody to design your logo or to write your Amazon listing and you don't get what you wanted. Because sometimes we don't always, hit on the first time what your vision is for your brand. Maybe we were missing an important piece of information that knowing that we would have positioned things differently. So if you just tell me, I hate that, that's not really helping me to understand what we need to do to make it so that you love it. And maybe you hate it because there was just one tiny detail that we didn't know to mention. And so just not having that made it so that you looked at everything and thought it was terrible. When if we would have just had that one detail, you would have loved it and it would have been perfect. And so being able to really look at things critically and say, okay, what's not working here? Or what is working here? And then being able to communicate that specifically and saying, I like this, I don't like this, this is maybe why I don't like this. All of that information will help you get a much better outcome when you're giving feedback and really working to get to the place that you want to get to with any type of creative work.
Very interesting. I'll ask you another practical question if you don't mind.
Sure.
What about variations? Would you say that, because I've seen many, many variations, and me as in dresses, I have different colors and different variations as well, and, sizes. Should I create like completely different text for each variation? Because most sellers don't.
I would say completely different text is probably unnecessary. Depending upon what your variation is, you may want to adjust some things accordingly. So perhaps, you have dresses and they're all the same cut and style, but some of them are solids and some of them are prints. Perhaps the prints you'll want to emphasize, maybe the prints are floral prints, and so they're a little bit more whimsical and feminine, whereas the solids are a little bit more professional and serious and put together. And so wanting to adjust that tone or some of the focus of the bullets that are talking about the look and feel of the dress might help you to better hone in on what a customer is going to be caring about when looking at those different types of dresses. Same goes for, let's say that you sell gluten-free crackers in a variety of different flavors. And so some have flax seeds and some have chia seeds, so maybe having a little bit that emphasizes what the flax seeds, maybe they provide a nuttier flavor and this kind of fiber, or the chia seeds do this particular particular, have lots of omega. I think they both have lots of omegas, but anyway, you know what I mean, where being able to highlight those differences, but at the same time, if a lot of those other details are going to be the same, there's no reason to put all of that time and energy into completely writing a whole new listing, unless you want to maybe test out some other things. But if there's variation, then you're not going to get a true sense of if it's the variation that's affecting the differences or the writing. So.
Okay. So, knowing all of that, what you said, I can tell that you're an expert of what you do. But many people who are watching maybe are listening to you just because they are going to attempt to do it themselves, right?
Sure.
Because they want to learn from someone like you and they will try to write it. So, could you give those people a few tips on like where to even start and how to make it good? What's the most important things for that?
So I mentioned a few of them that I'll reiterate now, which is one, be very clear about who your customer is and what your benefits are and how you can position your product differently than everybody else. Because if you're trying to enter a competitive space, which more and more spaces on Amazon are, then you want to have a very clear perspective. Because one of the mistakes that a lot of people will make is they say, I just want to sell to everybody. And that's not the goal. And in fact, you will be more successful the clearer you can be about who your dream client is, and making that specific is part of that. So like, let's say an example that I use a lot is like, let's say that you sell a really technical backpack for serious backcountry backpackers, and it's very lightweight, and I don't know what other features that a serious backpacker might want. So by being very specific and addressing all of the concerns about those serious backcountry backpackers, you're going to have the highest likelihood of converting them into customers. And what happens when you do that is then, let's say that you have all of the recreational backpackers, or even people that aren't going into the backcountry at all, but will be, backpacking around the globe. So they still want the best backpack. And if it's the best backpack for that particular sector, then it's probably the best backpack for everybody, because if it's ultra lightweight and it's all these other things, then that's going to then open yourself up eventually to a much wider audience. So by being clear and focused, you're not limiting yourself, you're actually helping to really identify yourself and set yourself apart, rather than just sort of blending into like, oh yes, this is the best backpack for everybody. So that would be number one. I would say number two is always make sure that you spell check and grammar check and everything like that. Even if it's paying somebody to edit it, or having a few of your friends read it, or whatever it might be, those are mistakes that you just want to avoid. Being thoughtful about using keywords. So on the one hand, you don't want to just assume that you're going to use the keywords that you need to use. On the other hand, you don't want to just shove a bunch of keywords into the listing so it just looks like a list of unrelated phrases. That's pretty off-putting. You don't want to assume that people aren't going to read, because especially the people that are reading are the ones that are going to be most turned off by that. So sort of taking a middle ground of being clear about what keywords you need to use, knowing what you need to use, but not also going to the extreme of overusing them. So those, I think, would be my main tips that come.
Those are great. Thank you very much. So how can people find you who do want to connect with you?
Sure. So they can reach out on Facebook through our page, Marketing by Emma. You can message me privately if you want, though I would prefer that you message me through the business page. They can find me on my website, marketingbyemma.com. They can email Emma@marketingbyemma, LinkedIn, pretty much every platform for the most part we are on, and we would be delighted to help. We're also always happy to give free feedback. So if you have a listing and you're not sure whether it needs work, you're always free to come send us a link, and we'll give you some feedback about whether we see room for improvement, if we do some of the things that we noticed, or if perhaps you would be better served by investing in higher quality images, or taking that money elsewhere because maybe your listing is already good enough and that's not where you need to put your focus at this time.
All right. I see you are very responsive to messages, which is good. I guess that's the way I would connect.
We try to be.
This is great. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on my show, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Paulina. This was great. I really enjoyed it. And please feel free to reach out if we can help in any way.
Sounds good. Take care.
Bye.